I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at askcraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about signs you attach too quickly.
But I love them.
What's their first name?
Oh, I forgot.
What's their last name?
Ooh, I definitely don't know that one. Before we get into this video, I did want to say that Craig and I are available for coaching sessions. So if you would like a one-on-one about your situation with us, please head to our website and you can book from there.
Yeah, some of you are probably like, oh yeah, I didn't know their last name when I got so attached. You're probably guilty. Some of you probably did forget their first name and you're pining over them for a few days and you're like, wait, what was that guy's name I met? Yeah, unfortunately, when you've had neglect in your life and abandonment and attachment issues, you are so eager and excited for somebody to come along that you get excited about strangers. Mm-hmm. People that you really don't know anything about, and you know, you've known them for 2 weeks and you're in a relationship with them, mm-hmm. right? And you're like, oh, this is my best friend.
Yeah.
You don't even know them, okay? It takes time to get to know somebody. And if you don't believe me, you're going to learn the hard way. And you're going to wind up with a lot of broken hearts. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be talking about signs that you're getting attached too quickly. These are important things to look for, okay, guys? The first thing that we see a lot is making big commitments too soon, right? You want to give an example of that one?
This is huge. This might be talking about marriage really early on, talking about having kids. And we're not just saying talking about the values of those things, because that's very different from planning those things out. So in here we're talking about saying, I commit that I'm going to have a child with you. Yeah. Thinking about, you know, what eye color they're going to have and what type of outfits they'll wear. Mm-hmm. And with marriage, same thing. Where is the venue going to be? You know, oh, it would be great if you lived here, or we could, you know, vacation summers there. Mm-hmm. So talking about these things, but also taking those next steps towards planning them when you don't truly know that person quite well yet.
There's a huge difference between telling somebody I want kids and I want kids with you.
Right, right.
We're on our second date. I had a woman tell me she loved me 4 times on the second date.
You have said that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was scary. Right. You know, you wait to the 3rd date like a normal person, right?
And we don't mean, I want to be also very clear in this video, we don't mean to pathologize connection. We don't mean to pathologize bonding and excitement in a relationship. In this video, we're just talking about different traits that we see in those who have experienced neglect and who have been emotionally deprived. Yeah. So these are some signs that you might be attaching quicker than you even know the person, to the detriment of yourself and the other. Okay, so I want to make that clear.
Yeah, because, you know, before you met this person, you may have these ideas and thoughts on how you want to live your life, things that are important to you. Mm-hmm. And before you know it, you're compromising these things that you would have never compromised before. Maybe this person is a different religion and that was always very important to you. Now you're like, oh, I don't care about that. Or maybe they have a very different lifestyle where they like to go out all the time and party. And you're like, no, I don't want that. But you're now compromising on that. Right. Yeah, family goals. They want 2 kids and you want 17, right? Uh-huh. They may have different views on relationships and how to meet each other's needs. And these certain things that were important to you before, now you're just giving up because of this new person and you're not really thinking about yourself.
Right. And it may also go the opposite way, where you're wanting a big commitment from them. You know, you're asking them to be exclusive very early on. And now I know in certain cultures that's very normal. So depending on where you are, take that into context. But demanding that type of commitment from someone who you don't know yet can be overwhelming for them, and it might not be realistic in your expectations when dating. And it also can be really tricky with expectations in general. Expecting someone to go all in and to be, ready to spend every day with you from the get-go is a lot.
Yeah.
Now, depending on the availability, if we have two, unemployed people who somehow have trust funds and have a lot of time to spend, we're all consenting adults. Of course, we talk about pacing all the time, but apply these things to your own life in a way that makes sense for you. Another one is making demands of your partner early on. And that's not necessarily just with commitment, but wanting to change them. When you are discovering little bits and pieces about their values, about their religion, about the way they view the world, and you are already demanding for some of those things to change, you might be more attached to the idea of having a relationship than you are actually seeing that person. And we see this a lot. We fly through red flags. We fly through a lot of things when we're in love, when we have those rose-colored glasses. So if you find yourself thinking, man, I really don't like this about them or that about them, but I just know I can convince them out of it. That's not going to be the healthiest stance to start a relationship on. And if you see some red flags, take them as they are. Of course, it's okay to bring up whatever your concerns are at any stage of a relationship. But if you are seeing from the beginning, when someone is trying to impress you the most, that there are some things that are concerning, think about what it's worth to bring these things up, what kind of a conversation you could have, and also think about, are these more long-standing patterns?
Another big thing that people do is love bombing. And we see this a lot. People coming on very strong. When they don't know you, they're saying, I love you, I've never felt this way before, I want to marry you, and all these things. When you really don't know each other. And that's the key, is when you get to know somebody, who they are, what their values are, do you line up? That takes time. But if you're just caught up in the newness, the excitement, and all those chemicals that are released in our brain in the beginning stages of a relationship, thanks Mother Nature, right? You're gonna wind up with a broken heart again and again and again, because lust and the excitement and that newness is very different than long-term attachment. And you have to be able to separate the two. If you can't, you will find yourself attached to people that are going to break up with you, and you're going to be devastated, and their reasons are going to be petty and make no sense.
Right.
They're going to be telling you, I love you at month 3, and I can't be with you because you're 5'3", and I have always wanted to be with a woman who's 5'3.5". And I'm not far off on obviously I'm making a joke, but it's really not that far off. Somebody will be like, they'll know your age, and they'll be fine with your age, but then at month 5, they break up with you because you're too old or too young.
Yeah.
I can't be with you because you're part Spanish, right? Even though they knew you were part Spanish the whole time.
Yeah.
It's not really the reason. It's just that this is what people do with attachment issues, okay? They do these things, but you're not prepared for it.
Right. And on your end, when you invest so heavily in the beginning of a relationship and you realize that they are only reciprocating back in the beginning also, as time passes, you're starting to see, okay, life is becoming more mundane and you are still heavily invested, heavily attached. That can lead to a lot of resentment later down the line too. When you realize, but I've done all of these things for you, where are the results of that? In the moment you're saying, well, I'm doing it out of my heart. But months later, years, sometimes, a year past, you're starting to realize, man, a lot of that investment in the beginning, maybe I did get attached too quickly and gave up way too much of myself early on.
Yeah. Another big thing is preparing for a future with them where you're maybe just obsessively fantasizing. You're daydreaming. Daydreaming is normal. Okay, we're all going to do a little bit of that. But when it gets too much, where it's like consuming you and you can't really see clarity and what's really happening in your connection anymore because you're so overwhelmed by how you feel instead of paying attention to their behaviors, right? When that daydreaming comes into action right away, that's where you might see some issues come up. In other words, like all of a sudden you make a major change in your life. You quit a job to move with them. You decide to leave your state for somebody you've never even met before. Things like that. And you're jumping the gun. That's a big sign that, you got to slow down.
And you start to get a lot more attached to the future than you do to the present. We talked before about loving the idea versus loving the person. You don't know the person well enough to form that type of relationship quite yet. Depending on how long you've been dating. It takes time for those things to develop. And it's also something that's earned, and that's the beauty of it. There's something that I read that talked about small talk, and somebody was complaining, I hate small talk. But then somebody was defending it and saying small talk is part of the conversation. You are not automatically entitled to other people's affection and attention and love. That is something that can be earned through time, earned through trust, and that small talk is part of the process. So in the beginning, that slower pace, getting to know someone, that's part of the process. And those are really the fundamental building blocks. Getting to know their favorite color. I know it's boring to ask people that 10 million times in a row if you're dating and you're tired of getting into these mundane types of situations. But those are the building blocks for deeper connection. And to prepare you for those bigger steps and for those bigger moves. You need to know those details about someone really before you make that step to spend every day with them, for example.
Definitely.
Another one that I see often is planning trips a long ways out. And you don't know how many people that I've talked to that are going through breakups that tell me, well, I still have these tickets to, Toronto for, next May, and I don't know what to do with them. Should I message my ex about them? And I'm like, that's pretty far from now.
Yeah, you were dating for 3 months, but you have a trip 9 months away planned.
Exactly. Yeah, so if you find yourself making these trips for way in advance, sometimes it can be that anxious attachment style way of trapping a partner, of saying, you had signed here, you bought this ticket, we're in it, we're going, it's done.
You know what comes up a lot? Concerts.
Yes, yeah, I see that a lot
Concerts.
too.
We had this concert planned. In fact, that actually happened with the Applebee's girl too. Even I had gotten her concert tickets.
What did you do with the tickets?
I told her to go with her sister.
Oh, okay.
And so she went.
Okay. So that's an option. So yeah, there can be things, events, travel plans, sports games, whatever it is that are planned way out in the future. Try to be a little bit more realistic. You might even say, okay, if we're still together by then we can go on these things. If you have to get that ticket for whatever reason, talk about what you might do if that person can't go or can't attend, just to prepare. Not saying it's going to be the end of the world all the time when you have that conversation, but just being realistic about the length of time that you've known each other for.
Yep.
Another thing that I see is sacrificing all of your free time. And this one is one that breaks my heart because it's really when you start to lose yourself in someone. And to see that happen really early on can be really scary. You can be excited about a new relationship, but you need to maintain your basic functioning to make sure that you are okay and your mental health is okay.
Yeah, you might see this with some of your friends too. The minute they get into a relationship, you don't hear from them.
They're like, bye.
until they break up 4 months later. And then they're back.
Yeah. And you start finding yourself slipping on your routines, on your hygiene, on your work routines, on your health routines.
Health routines is a big one, yeah.
On your social circles, things that you would normally do. You start prioritizing this partner from the get-go, and the things that keep you stable and balanced start to falter. So keep that in mind. If you find yourself investing too much to where you're losing yourself, reel it back.
That's right. Got to be aware of these things within yourself.
Another one is thinking that you know everything about them.
How many times have you seen somebody in a situation where they thought they knew somebody, and even after years, that other person was living another life?
Ooh, a lot.
I mean, you would be surprised how bad it can get. Sometimes they've been cheating and lying the whole time.
Yeah. And while there is no foolproof way of knowing that someone is being authentic all of the time, okay, there's people who are master manipulators who have been charming people from birth. There's some people who are very good at that. But there are also some precautions that you can do in good faith to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Realize, okay, the time that me and this person have been together is that time. I still know only this much, and there is still so much more to learn. My rule of thumb is being able to see someone through all different seasons and through at least the 4 or 5 basic emotions. If I can see you happy, mad, sad, scared, then I can see what your reaction is like in those times and if this is something that I want to sign up for or not. Yeah,
you really got to take your time. Trust us, guys. If you don't, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it because so many people are not really honest with who they are in the beginning of a relationship. And I think part of it is because their attachment issues haven't come out. I think part of it is that all the chemicals that are released in your brain cause you to ignore those red flags. And part of it is that all of the chemicals released in their brain make them on their best behavior. So you have a lot of things going on here, but you really want to see what they're like over time.
Right. And you think you know everything about them. That's the tricky part, is that maybe you're spending a lot of time with someone in a short period of time. And so you start to pick up on some of their habits, you're starting to get to know who they are, and you just get the sense of, oh, I know that they're like this, or they wouldn't do that, or they couldn't possibly think that. We don't truly know until we get a lot more data points. That's what I like to see at the beginning of a relationship like. You're gathering data. You are a little research scientist in this love life trying to pick up as many pieces to make the best decisions for your future as possible. So remember just to be cautious when you're dating, especially in those early stages.
Yep. One last point we wanted to talk about. You might find that you start doing everything that this person wants to do, and even if you don't want to do those things, you're not asserting yourself. And that's not a good sign because it's only going to get worse. They're going to not even realize that you don't want to do those things because you're not telling them. And I would say that this is probably more of an anxious trait to go along with things that you don't really want to do. Avoidance are probably going to be more likely to go along with it in the beginning. But in year 1 or 2, they're going to be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to that game. That's boring. That's like torture for me. Right?
Yeah, and you will be surprised with how long people can put up a mask. And I don't mean to say that in a way that it's always bad. We all have different roles that we present in different areas of our life. We're one person at work, we're one person at home, or one person at school, or wherever it is, just because of the social environment that we're in. And someone can put on a mask for a period of time. It can be something that takes time to break down that wall a little bit, see who they truly are. Like I said, when you see them through a wide range of emotions, and then you get a better picture of who they are.
Yeah, definitely. One last thing I want to say is that if you're already afraid of them leaving you before knowing them, you're not realizing that not everyone deserves to even be in your life, and you haven't even given yourself the opportunity to find out if they deserve to be in your life. Okay? Something to think about. All right, so hopefully this one's been helpful to you. Let us know. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.